Chapter 663. Bruce's spare arms grew several meters longer. An overwhelming wave of spirit pressure enveloped the air within 100-meter radius as Bruce's bulging eyes turned completely red. His head turned into a feral beast for good. His new power was robbing him of the rest of his mind as he let out a howl and charged toward Wilbur. The long spears attacked in a high speed, hardly giving Wilbur any time to dodge. Bruce had lost his mind by then and was not attacking with any sanity at all. He was whipping his spears around wildly, intending to destroy anything before him by way of brute force. Bruce's new power gave him the ability to destroy everything, and his powers had now reached peak sanctuary level. Having lost his mind, the newly gained destructive power made Bruce even more terrifying. Knowing how powerful the crystal bone was, Wilbur did not dare let up in the slightest against Bruce. The power that the crystal bone held was far more terrifying than a sanctuary-level cultivator. Despite the fact that Bruce was only able to access a bit of it, was enough proof of its infinite potential. Just as Bruce turned completely feral, Wilbur activated his dragon power. The spiritual furnace and dragon crystal in his body began to spin at high speed. Spiritual energy, thunder energy, and dragon power exploded out of Wilbur, condensing onto the thunder cleaver. All at once, the blade of the cleaver lit up with white and red flames, as well as a blinding glow. The thunder cleaver let out terrifying howl of lightning and thunder, the thunderous light spreading out and forming a net. He brought the thunder cleaver down mid-air with both hands. A wave of blade energy combined with spiritual energy, dragon energy, and thunder energy shot forward. His blade energy slashed through the countless spear attacks Bruce threw at Wilbur, stinging against his gigantic body. The crowd could not help but gasp in terror at the sight of the attack. An explosive sound rang through the air as the blade energy struck Bruce square in the limbs. Dust rose from the ground in a hazy cloud, whipping up a storm along with the rampant spiritual energy in the air. Everyone stared at the scene in shock, their jaws agape. It was hard to imagine anyone surviving a blow like that. Surely, even Bruce's new form would be taken down, right? Yet just then, an earth-shattering howl rang from the cloud of dust as a terrifying pillar made entirely of runes shot out towards Wilbur. Chapter 664. The power of the runic pillar shocked all the onlookers. Their hearts seemed to stop beating at the sight, their expressions twisted in pain. The attack was too sudden and too intense, and everyone was certain that it would be impossible to avoid. A blow that could not be avoided and had the power to destroy everything. That was truly terrifying. The crowd's agonized expressions turned hopeless at once. Bruce was far too powerful in this new form. Even Wilbur's heavy blow had not been enough to kill him. He was clearly unstoppable. Only Amon, Reed, and Brody seemed to perk up with glee. Even if Bruce would not recover from losing his mind, the only way out for them is if Wilbur is defeated. Wilbur himself was shocked too. Bruce's attack had caught him off guard, as Wilbur did not expect his blade energy to be deflected. The pillar of runes was a condensation of the crystal bone's energy. Wilbur would not be able to avoid the blow, nor could he face it head-on. The runic pillar was about to hit him at any second now, and Wilbur had no time to respond in the slightest. At the very last second, an idea hit him, and he opened his dragon's safe haven. A bright-colored ray of light appeared and covered him completely. At the same time, the runic pillar struck the light barrier. Wilbur would have been struck by the attack if he had reacted a second later. Bruce emerged from the dust then. A terrifying wound had appeased on his body, almost splitting him in half. Blood poured out endlessly. A bone-chilling sight. But Bruce was somehow still alive. The crystal bone on his chest shone brightly, emitting the same blinding glow and terrifying spirit pressure. Bruce's mouth was agape as the runic pillar had shot out of his mouth. The thick pillar hummed brightly, crawling with runes as it continued to attack Wilbur. Bruce continued to make his way towards Wilbur, the power of the runic pillar increasing with every step he took. However, Wilbur was now under the protection of Dragon's safe haven. He stared coldly at Bruce's approaching figure, letting the runic pillar wreak havoc on the light barrier of Dragon's safe haven. It was a power he had gotten from that old dragon. granting him immunity from all attacks. There was no way Wilbur would be harmed in the slightest. The runic pillar continued to attack the dragon's safe haven, letting out explosive sounds with every blow. Yet all of the force and energy of each attack seemed to be absorbed by the dragon's safe haven. The dragon's safe haven seemed like a brightly colored void, as any attack would disappear and disintegrate upon colliding against it. Nonetheless, Bruce had lost all his senses and only had one goal left in his head: to destroy the enemy before him. He continued shooting the runic pillar at Wilbur, getting closer and closer to him. Wilbur was unable to move then, but did not panic in the slightest as he stared coldly at Bruce. Just as Bruce was around 3 meters away from Wilbur, his gigantic body began to crystallize and slowly solidify. Bruce was only an ambience-level cultivator. Even at peak ambience level, he was far from capable of taking on the terrifying power in the crystal bone. On top of that, absorbing the crystal bone's energy from before had also caused irreversible harm to his body. Bruce's body was giving out now, his body freezing in place as the runic pillar disappeared. Just then, the dragon's safe haven's effect came to an end. Wilbur emerged standing in front of Bruce, thundercleaver in hand. Everyone else watching from upstairs was shocked to their core. What was that brightly colored light barrier? And how was it so powerful that it seemed like Bruce's ultimate move had been deflected completely just like that? This man was truly terrifying. No one dared to even think about how powerful Wilbur was. He was definitely miles ahead of sanctuary level at the very least. Amon, Reed, and Brody turned pale with disbelief and hopelessness.